probably introduce myself first. I'm Cindy Nicole. This is new for me, something I've always wanted to try, but kind of always been too afraid of what people thought to actually try it. So I've decided I'm tired of being afraid of what people think. I'm tired of surrendering my emotions and my thoughts about myself and being totally dependent on what others think of me and projecting those thoughts upon myself. So I just thought I'm going to actually try it. I think I'm going to start a YouTube channel. And like I said, Cindy Nicole. So the first video I wanted to talk about was being bullied in high school, because honestly, high school can be hell. So, and I don't feel like it's talked about enough. Like, it's talked about, but not enough to truly make a difference in some of the schools. I never thought I would be a person to be bullied in school, but I was. And it was pretty bad. So I thought I would just real quick, as a basis, define bully. So a bully is a blustering, quarrelsome, overbearing person who habitually intimidates smaller or weaker people. And usually bullies, they just have this almost intuition to bully the people who already seem to have a lower self-esteem. And that was definitely me in high school, 100%. So I wanted to make this video to try to help change people, or just let other kids know they're not alone. So basically, in 2010, we had moved out to California from North Carolina. And I was clicking a pin. I was 15 at the time, and I started my sophomore year of high school there in California. And it was okay. I didn't make friends real easy, real quick, real fast. I struggled, I think, putting myself out there, because I was already intimidated. It was such a huge change for me, and it was such a large school that I didn't really know, I don't think, how to actually reach out to other people and be friends with them. I did meet a few people that year and talked to them and got along, but no like good, sturdy, real friends. And sophomore year went by in school. It was decent. Can't say I had like a ton of fun my sophomore year, but I can't complain about it. And my freshman year was good. I went to school with a lot of friends at that time. But then junior year moved around, and that was the worst. I ended up meeting this girl and one of her friends, and I didn't even realize it at the time, but it was a very manipulative friendship. And I didn't really benefit from the friendship. Usually, you have friends you can lean on or benefit from, and help each other, and you can grow together. But that was definitely not one of those friendships. And she used me more than anything, and it wasn't a good friendship. So I realized they weren't real friends, and I was ditched in bathrooms, and I'd become so self-conscious of myself and the way I looked that I didn't even want to eat in front of people. I just would rather have hid. And actually, it's gross, but I did actually eat in bathroom stalls because I was just so like deathly self-conscious about how I looked. And at that time, it's not like anybody had actually called me names, but I was just that self-conscious. And this particular friend would actually ditch me in bathrooms, or just sort of run off and do things without me, which isn't exactly being a friend, and it wasn't exactly joking either. But I ended up moving on from that friendship, trying to get out of that. But before that, just a little bit before that, she had another friend who never seemed to care for me at all in the first place, and I could never talk to They never talked to me unless I started a conversation. But one day, I thought I would go try to hang out with them at lunch because I didn't have anybody else. And the whole group of 5+ people that they were hanging around walked away like I didn't exist. And nobody turned and looked at me when they started walking away or anything. And I didn't understand it. So that's the day I think I actually felt invisible. I physically and literally and mentally really thought I was invisible and people just didn't care. I didn't think anybody liked me. And I went back to a particular teacher's room and actually ate lunch in her class and sat in her class because I didn't have anywhere else to go. I didn't have anybody else. I didn't have any other friends. She was it. And in that moment, I don't think I had ever felt more devalued as a human than in that moment right there. Because I knew that they saw me. They knew I was there because we greeted. And then they all simultaneously turned and walked away. I don't exactly know what causes people to want to do that because I was never the person to pick fights, start fights, or, say rude things to start anything. And I just didn't understand why they would do that to me. So that's the moment I realized I really needed to find other people because friends don't treat friends like that. People who care don't treat people like that. So I decided I'd make more friends. So the second half of the semester, I thought I met a good friend. And it yet again fell through and was not a good friendship. This one actually turned out to be way worse. And there was one morning in particular where she just sort of seemed to snap and had it and was, for whatever reason, her demeanor towards me had completely changed. And I was joking around with her and I didn't want to do something she wanted me to do. So I told her no. And after that, it was over. Her and all her other friends completely turned against me. And they would lie and say that they were going to do this during lunch. And then I was like, okay, well, if you're going to stay in and study, I guess I'll go walk around. And so I did. And lo and behold, they were also walking around. I actually passed the whole group. And I realized at that moment, she'd actually betrayed me. And there was no more friendship there. And she ended up making my life so miserable. I started getting migraines weekly. And it would be to the point where I couldn't go to school because my head hurt so bad or something like that. And I even ended up going to the hospital one time because of a headache. And I let what she thought of me, or what I thought she thought of me, how she treated me and how all her friends treated me, depict how I saw myself. And I let that mentally torment me. And I just began to get physically sick from all of this. And I started going to the doctor because we couldn't get these headaches and these migraines to stop, and I didn't know why I kept having migraines. So I started going to the doctor for them, and we tried this pain medicine and that pain medicine, and I was under the age of 18, so there was still some medications I couldn't have. And it got to the point where the next thing that we could try was a headache preventative, and that didn't help either. And then I had actually exhausted all the medications the doctors felt were safe to recommend for my age. I was about 16, 17. And it got to the point where she actually said really all that was left was narcotics. And to me that wasn't really an option because I knew I was too young to be on narcotics for this. And I remember the doctor asking me if I was under stress at school. And I said no. But I didn't realize that what I was going through could actually cause me to be so sick. and that how other people treated me mentally was tormenting, and how torn down I felt and the stress from school. I didn't realize that that could make somebody sick. And I didn't realize that until the summer came and school was out. And all of a sudden, I didn't have headaches anymore. And I was like, huh. And I think it was at that point I started to sort of open up to my parents, because at the time they didn't fully know what I was going through. And they didn't know I had been eating in bathroom stalls because I was that self-conscious. They didn't know how torn down I felt as a person, and how non-existent I thought I was, how non-purposeful I was, how I felt weak and lesser than everybody I went to school with. And I think it was in the summer that I started to realize my headaches, they were gone. That was it. And so I started to talk to my mom especially, and I realized that I was bullied. And it's something I didn't think about, because when you think of a bully, you tend to think somebody who is physically beating up on somebody or calling names. But I think that's something that isn't talked about, is that there's like different forms of bullying, I guess, if you will. And just the maltreatment of another person is a form of bullying. Being ignored, being left in bathrooms because they think it's funny, but you don't understand what is going on. Or, having people walk away from you like you don't exist and you're invisible. That's still a form of bullying. And it's something I had wished I would have realized at the time. I probably could have saved myself a little bit of anguish. And I didn't go to anybody. I never went to a teacher to tell them what was wrong or what was going on. I really didn't open up to anybody. I just sort of suppressed all of this inside. And it's probably another one of the reasons I was actually physically sick, was that I suppressed it all. I didn't talk about it. I didn't get help. I didn't try to change. I didn't do anything. I just suppressed and suppressed and suppressed my emotions. And, that didn't work out so well. So, I really wanted to make this video solely because I know people are still getting bullied. I know there are kids who still think that they're invisible. Or maybe you're an adult and you still think you're invisible and you're lesser than everybody around you because people keep leaving you. They keep, putting you on the back burner, like you're not important, you're not a priority in their life. And that's exactly how I felt. I never felt like I was a priority. And I just want to say, for anybody who's going through that, who feels invisible, left behind, and lesser than, you aren't. I know it feels like it, but you aren't. You have a destiny and a purpose. And if I look weird doing all this stuff, it's because you probably can't see my hands. I'm over here, I talk with my hands. So there's a whole lot of motion down here, but I don't know if the camera's catching it all up here. This is new for me. But it was so mentally tormenting for me in school. And I know it's the same for others. And my neighbor, he turned on his lawnmower. The neighbors are always mowing their grass at the most inconvenient times. Like, who mows their lawn at 2 in the afternoon? In the heat, in the summer, in North Carolina. Why is he out? I feel like I live between two egotistical maniac lawnmowers. Two neighbors on either side, always mowing grass. So I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but I I'm going to try to press through anyways. So, long story short, this is probably a condensed version. I don't know how long this is going to be. This is the first video I have ever actually sat down to make. And we're going to go from here. And I hope it gets better and less awkward and cringy. I'm sure it will. But high school was hell for me. And I wish, if there's anything, I think that anybody out there, like advice I could give them that feels this way, you feel torn down, you feel like you have zero self-confidence and you're lesser than, you're not important. For any of y'all who feel that way, I would advise trying to talk to somebody. And if I would have talked to somebody sooner, maybe I would have enjoyed school a little bit more. Or, maybe something could have been done. Nothing was done because I did nothing to try to resolve or better the situation. I thought, if I stayed quiet, they would stop ignoring me. Like that makes a lot of sense. If I stayed quiet and I kept to myself, people couldn't hurt me because I would stay in my own little bubble. And if I just was all me, myself, and I, and didn't need any friends, then I wouldn't have friends that would hurt me. So it got to a point, really, that is one of the thoughts I had was, I don't need friends, right? Don't know if anybody else has been there, but you end up getting tired of everybody, and you're like, well, there's nobody good here. They all hate me. Nobody cares about me. I'm not cool. So, I just advised trying to talk to a teacher, and the only teacher who was really there for me didn't even know she was there for me, because I would always eat lunch in her classroom, and I am so glad she always opened her door for kids to eat in the classroom, because I was one of those that didn't have anywhere else to go. I didn't have friends, and that was just my junior year. I was physically sick to the point where I had missed like so much school in my second semester that my mom got one of them letters that said, if your child misses any more school, we're gonna have some problems. That's how much school I had missed. So it was really that bad for me, and it had more to do with the treatment of other people towards me than it did with actual like physical bullying or name calling. It was literally how they treated me, and I just let that completely tear me down, and I let how other people treated me give me opinions about myself, if that makes any sense. I began to think I was lesser or not important. Surely I wasn't going to go anywhere, do anything big, because I came to get friends in high school. But when that year ended, things seemed to change. I didn't feel sick anymore. I wasn't stressed. I didn't have headaches or migraines. And summer went through, rolled on around. Senior year started. And about halfway through senior year, I ended up getting really sick again. And it was still at this point I didn't really have friends. There was really nobody for me. And I think that was still also when I was still eating in that particular teacher's room, if I remember right. But I still didn't have anybody to lean on or talk to. I had started to make a couple new friends, but nothing serious or anything like that. Nobody I felt like I really connected with is what I mean by serious. It wasn't a relationship, my goodness. But I ended up getting really, really sick again. And they actually found inflammation around my liver. And they could not figure out what was causing this inflammation. They had tested me for everything. It was like multiple blood draws after multiple blood draws, and they couldn't find anything. And they just didn't know it wrong. And then they sent me to a GI specialist, and he said, no, I don't know what's wrong. And nobody could figure it out. And it wasn't till after they're like, well, maybe it was a virus. You did experiment with a lot of different medicines, within the past year. And they ended up marking up to possibly a virus, possibly something caused from before. And but one of the reasons I think I was still so sick that year was I was still mentally tormented, and that also caused me to end up missing some school as well. But finally, second half of senior year, I actually ended up making really, really good friends. And to this day, two of those friends are still really good friends. And I graduated, oh my God, 4 years ago? Yeah, 4 years ago. I know that's a short time span for some people, but when you meet friends in high school, sometimes, they fade away real quick, or maybe they stick around for a little while, then fade out of your life. But these two friends I still talk to today, although we've moved out of California since then. I am still really good friends with them, and they are people who I can lean on and trust and open up to without fear of judgment. And I know that they're good friends. They're not people who are going to misuse me or make me feel bad about myself. We actually build each other up, and we're so encouraging to each other that it's now such a beautiful friendship. And I just want to encourage the people who think that they don't need friends because you can't find any, because you don't feel like you're good enough for anybody else to be friends with. I want to encourage you that whatever you're going through now is a life season. It's not permanent. I know it feels like you're trapped in a dark tunnel with no light at the end. I've been there. But it is a season. Might be a dark season. Might be the White Walker season. But it's a season. And it'll pass, even though it doesn't feel like it. And I encourage you to still be who you are. Be who you feel like you were meant to be. And don't let the opinions of others depict how you see yourself. Because I did that, and it gets you nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. I allowed the people to tear me down so much that it was almost like a rock bottom kind of self-confidence. I didn't have any. So I had to sort of rebuild everything. And thank the Lord, I think I finally am at a place where I like who I am, because I used to hate who I was. I didn't like me at all. And if there's anybody that has to spend more time with me, it's me. Okay? You can't get away from yourself. You are who you are. But so I just want to encourage you to embrace who you are and love yourself, because you can't help anybody else. You can't love others if you don't love you first. So this is new for me. I think I've said all that I can say. There might be a part 2 of this, of how I sort of got through it, even though I didn't fully realize what was going on the whole time. I knew misery. That's kind of all I knew was misery. So I might make a separate video, part 2, whatever you want to call it, just talking about how I got through it, what helped me when I started opening up, all of that. But please, if you are being bullied, you are having a hard time in school, then I really would encourage you, find someone, a parent, a teacher, maybe it's a coach or somebody else. Just find someone you can open up to, and you'll get help, because that's the only way things can get better while you're in that situation, is if you reach out and try to get help. I think they don't want to reach out because you don't want to talk about what's going on. You don't want to say, I'm having a hard time, I'm being bullied. Maybe you're worried people won't take you seriously, because that's kind of one thing I thought. Surely nobody's gonna believe I'm being bullied, right? I can't be bullied. I'm invisible, right? No, that is another form of bullying is making somebody feel invisible. That is mentally anguishing and tormenting. So whatever you're going through right now, find somebody to talk to get help. And I think that might be it. We'll see. Probably looked off a lot, so I'll get better. But I hope all of y'all are having a good day. And if anybody's wondering also why I'm kind of starting this, is because during that time also, in a way, YouTube and watching videos, escaping reality basically, was a coping method. So that is another reason I'm starting this, is for anybody whose day I can make better, for anybody who I can feel, or they can feel they can relate to this and realize you're not alone, you're not invisible, you are important, and you do have a purpose in life, and you are loved by many. Whoever you are, there is somebody, even if you don't feel like it, there is somebody who loves you. So with that being said, I think I'm gonna end my first YouTube video there. Alright, y'all. Bye.